Assalamu alaikum. Welcome you all in my today's lecture. Today I will discuss about infection of bone or about osteomyelitis. In orthopedic surgery, this is one of the most important topic, and you need to deal very carefully in your medical profession with osteomyelitis. So today I will request my students to give their 100% concentration for learning this topic. So let's come to the point. Today I will discuss about osteomyelitis, and this lecture will be divided in two parts. In two lectures I will complete this topic, and today I will discuss the first part of osteomyelitis. First of all, let's come to know about the history of osteomyelitis. This was first described about 150 years ago in 1834. The scientist named Newton, he was first described this osteomyelitis. The root words osteon, it means bone, and myelo means marrow or bone marrow, and itis, it includes, and when all this combines it produces a word that is osteomyelitis. So osteomyelitis includes osteon means bone, myelo means marrow, and itis means indication. So from its name it presents that osteomyelitis means inflammation of bone due to infection. Now let's come to know about the definition. It may be defined as inflammation of bone caused by an infecting organism. What is it? Inflammation of bone caused by an infecting organism. Inflammation of bone caused by an infecting organism. Definition is very short and easy. Okay. And it may remain localized or it may spread through the bones. Localized means it may be situated only a single part of the bone, or it may involve the whole part of the bone including marrow, bony cortex, periosteum, and even surrounding soft tissue. You know, bones have main three parts, that is medullary cavity or bone marrow, cortex, and then surrounding periosteum, and above that or surrounding that there is a soft tissues. In extensive form of osteomyelitis, all these parts may be involved. Okay. Now let's come to know the classification of osteomyelitis. Osteomyelitis may be classified in different ways according to duration, according to mechanism of infection, and according to etiology. Now first of all let's come to know the classification according to the duration. According to duration, it is four types, that is acute osteomyelitis, subacute osteomyelitis, chronic osteomyelitis, and acute on chronic osteomyelitis. Now what are these things means? What is acute osteomyelitis? When it is less than 2 weeks of bone infection, then we can call it acute osteomyelitis. When the infection of bone is continuous for 2 to 6 weeks, then we can call it subacute osteomyelitis. And when the infection continues more than 6 weeks, even years after years, then we can call it chronic osteomyelitis. And then what is acute on chronic osteomyelitis? It means the chronic osteomyelitis is present for long time, but signs, symptom and clinical features are very minimum, but suddenly it presents with very aggressive sign and symptom, then we can call it acute on chronic. So acute less than 2 weeks, subacute 2 to 4 weeks, chronic more than 6 weeks, acute on chronic, chronic osteomyelitis with acute presentation. Okay. Now another classification, that is the from where the infection come to the bone. It is according to mechanism of infection. It is two types. One is exogenous and second is hematogenous. Exogenous means there may be a history of trauma like open fracture, surgery, stab wound or penetrating wound, or even pin prick with a dirty pin. This may produce organism into the bone. Here infection comes from outside, not from inside. And second one is hematogenous or endogenous, that is from within the body, from other part of the body or from the bloodstream. Infection from nose, throat, GIT. This infection goes to the bone via bloodstream, then we can call it hematogenous or endogenous osteomyelitis. And third one is according to etiology, it can be divided into two parts. This is third classification according to etiology, non-specific osteomyelitis and specific osteomyelitis. Non-specific osteomyelitis usually we call or includes all the bacterial osteomyelitis, and this is non-specific. Okay, so there are the numbers of bacteria. These may cause infection, and sometimes we can differentiate or find out the definite organism. That's why sometimes we call it bacterial osteomyelitis or non-specific osteomyelitis. And specific osteomyelitis, what does it means? When the infection or inflammation of bone is caused by a particular or a definite organism. As for example, tubercular osteomyelitis, fungal osteomyelitis, viral osteomyelitis and parasitic osteomyelitis. I repeat, tubercular, fungal, viral and parasite. These organism when causes osteomyelitis, then we call it specific osteomyelitis. And when osteomyelitis caused by bacterial infection, then we call it non-specific osteomyelitis. Now some discussion about how organism enter into the bone or causes osteomyelitis. First of all, direct introduction through the skin, that is pin prick or injection, stab wound, laceration, open fracture or even a bone surgery. As for example, a fractured bone, we do surgery. In that time, if organism enter into the bone, this may cause osteomyelitis, and all these things are direct introduction to the bone. And another thing is direct spread from a contagious focus of infection. What is that? You may have a joint infection or septic arthritis. From septic arthritis, if infection goes to the bone from the joint, then it is a direct spread from contagious site. Or if a boil or abscess is present in the overlying soft tissue of the bone, if infection goes from that wound to the bone, then that is direct infection. And third one is indirect spread via the bloodstream from a distant site. How it may occur? As for example, someone have tonsillitis. a 5 years old boy have tonsillitis, and few days back he developed pain and swelling in his leg, upper third of the leg, and here the infection goes to the bone via the bloodstream from the tonsillar fossa to the metaphyseal region of the tibia. This is called indirect spread via bloodstream. Okay. Now, what are the causative organism that may cause osteomyelitis? Mainly here we will discuss about the bacterial osteomyelitis. Okay. Among them, you know, the Staphylococcus aureus is the most common organism that cause osteomyelitis, and in about 90% cases osteomyelitis is caused by Staphylococcus aureus. Most common organism Staphylococcus aureus, and it may cause infection of the bone about nearly 90%. Okay. And there are many other organisms. Among them, common organisms include Streptococcus pyogenes, Pneumococcus, Haemophilus influenzae. It usually is less than 2 years. E. coli, Salmonella, Bacteroides, Proteus, and Klebsiella. You should try to remember some of these organisms because this may be frequently asked to your viva, or in written examination you may need to answer. Now I will discuss about acute osteomyelitis, and after discussion of acute osteomyelitis I will finish my first or today's lecture. What is acute osteomyelitis? It is a rapidly destructive pyogenic infection. It is a rapidly destructive pyogenic infection, usually hematogenous origin. Okay, from distant site via blood it goes to the bone and produce infection, and this is very destructive and occurring most frequently in infants and children. Okay. It starts in the metaphysis of an actively growing long bone and runs in a fulminating septic course that may terminating fatally. What does it mean? It's a very big sentence I told you. It means acute osteomyelitis presentation is quite destructive. It is hematogenous infection, occur usually in infants and children. Okay. Occur in the metaphysis of the long bone commonly. It has a fulminating, means very destructive or acute or aggressive septic course, and if not treated properly patient may die. Okay. So few things: rapidly destructive, hematogenous origin, occur in infants and children, involved in the metaphysis of the long bone, have a very aggressive or fulminating septic course, and if not treated properly patient may die. Okay. Now, what are the predisposing factors for acute osteomyelitis? What are the factors that may increase the incidence of osteomyelitis? First of all is, it may involve children and infants, more common in male because they are more naughty usually than girls. That is why chance of infection is quite more, you know, chance of trauma, chance of supracondylar fracture is also more in boys. In that same way as incidence of trauma is more to the boys, so disease also more in boys. Okay. There may be a history of direct trauma. Location in the metaphysis of the long bone, usually upper end of the tibia, lower end of the femur. Poor nutrition, because poor nutrition reduces immunity. Immunocompromised patient have more chance of infection. We already know about these things. Unhygienic surrounding and antecedent focus of infection like boil or tonsillitis. Already I told you about these things, that if there is a pre-existing infection in any part of the body, from that side infection may travel to the bone via bloodstream. Okay. So this is more common in infants and children aged usually below 5 years, more common in male. Metaphysis of the long bone, example lower end of femur or upper end of the tibia, poor nutrition, unhygienic condition, and pre-existing any infectious site like boil or tonsillitis, etc. And why infection occur in the metaphysis of the long bone in children? This is a very interesting thing. I think you will feel happy to know about these small things. Okay, why in the metaphysis of the long bone in children? Because here the metaphysis have peculiar arrangement of blood vessels. There are non-anastomotic terminal branches of nutrient artery twist back in a hairpin loop before entering the large network of sinusoidal veins. It's a very quite hard term, so I will show you the picture. So just you need to remember these things, that there is a hairpin loop manner of sinusoidal veins within the medullary cavity, and there is a stasis of blood at that site, and which helps in deposition of the organism or colonization of the bacteria. In the image you can see there is a blood vessels in the hairpin loop manner. These vessels are twisted, and this is a figure of a hairpin loop, and this is the figure of a hairpin loop. So you can just imagine these things, and this thing causes deposition of organism at the tip of the hairpin, and which causes infection. Okay. Now, what is the pathogenesis of acute osteomyelitis, or how infection goes to the bone and then it produces osteomyelitis, and the sign symptom of osteomyelitis? First of all, there will be pre-existing infectious focus, then infective embolus enter into the nutrient artery through the blood vessels, it enter into the bone through the nutrient artery, then trapped in a vessels of small caliber in the metaphysis, then it block the vessels, and there will be hyperemia, increased supply, polymorphonuclear cell exudate. So intraosseous pressure rises and it produces intense pain and further obstruction of the blood flow. Then there will be ischemia and resorption of the bone, and there will be formation of pus. Okay. And you know, in the medullary cavity, when pus is formed, there is a Haversian canal and Volkmann canal in the bone. Through this canal, from the endosteal surface, pus goes to the outer surface of the bone under the periosteum. Then this pus causes pressure and lift the periosteum upward, and there will be segmental necrosis of the bone. Okay. And this dead piece of bone, we call it sequestrum. Dear students, following my lecture, it is quite tough for you to understand, but the picture or image that showing in this lecture, try to write it down in your notebook and then follow what you have written in your notebook, and this will help you to understand easily. Okay, and when pus accumulate under the periosteum, it causes perforation of the periosteum. Then pus goes to the extraperiosteal space in the submuscular area, then pass in the intramuscular plane, then to the subfascial plane, that is under the deep fascia or superficial fascia, and enter into the subcutaneous tissue, and this may drain out. Okay, and sometimes this produces some sinus or tract. This may penetrate the skin and this may come out of the skin, and then we can see there will be pus outside the body. Okay, and this is the mechanism how osteomyelitis causes. Here in this image you can see there is a septic foci in the metaphyseal region of the bone. Then this pus form an increased amount of pus which causes destruction of the bone, and then it elevates the periosteum. And after that, when it elevates the periosteum, then it penetrates the periosteum and produces sinus, and the pus comes out of the bone. Here you can see there is a dead piece of bone within the pus, and this is sequestrum, and under the periosteum there is a new bone formation which is involucrum, and there is a sinus tract through which this blue color or violet color pus is coming out. This sinus is called cloaca. Okay, these three terms you need to know about osteomyelitis, that is sequestrum, involucrum and cloaca. Dead piece of bone, this is sequestrum. New bone formed closed under the periosteum, that is involucrum, and the tract that is produced for drainage of the pus, that is cloaca. Okay. Now, what will be the clinical features of acute osteomyelitis? First of all, patient profile, usually children aged between 2 to 6 years, more common in boys than girls. There may be history of trauma. Onset will be rapid, as if this is acute osteomyelitis less than 2 weeks, and this is more common in lower limb than upper limb. Okay, so it occurs in children 2 to 6 years, more common in boys than girls. There will be history of trauma, rapid onset, more common in lower limb. Okay, and what will be the symptoms? Symptoms include patient will be irritable, toxic and restless. There may be fever, reluctant to take food, severe pain in the affected area. There will be swelling, and the baby will refuse to move his limb or not allow it to move, and this is sometimes we call pseudo paralysis. Okay, and in sign what we will get, there will be high fever, rapid pulse, dehydration, limb will be held in semi-flexed position because this will reduce the pain. There will be swelling, redness, local rise of temperature, tenderness may present, and restricted movement of the limb. Okay, and in investigation we need to do complete blood count. There will be increased number of white cell count, increased neutrophil count. This is called neutrophilic leukocytosis. ESR may be very high, CRP may be positive, and we need to send pus for culture and sensitivity for giving appropriate antibiotic against the organism. And in X-ray, in first week, X-ray may be normal, only soft tissue swelling may be present. Okay, and ultrasonography we can see the accumulation of pus under the periosteum. MRI, when there is a doubtful case whether there is a infection present or not, then we can do MRI. CT scan and bone scan also will help us for the early diagnosis of osteomyelitis. Now the treatment includes first of all absolute bed rest, then correction of dehydration if patient is dehydrated by giving IV fluid. Initially, when we suspect osteomyelitis, then we will give broad spectrum injectable antibiotics. What we will give? We will give broad spectrum injectable antibiotics. That means not single antibiotic. We need to give at least 2 antibiotics, and we will give specific antibiotics when the culture and sensitivity report is available to us. If pain, then we need to give NSAIDs. Immobilization of the extremity by splint or by traction, and surgery when needed. When there is a massive amount of pus, there will be avascular necrosed area, there is sequestrum, necrosis bone, then we need to do surgery for drainage of the pus or for removal of the sequestrum or necrotic tissues. So the treatment I can repeat: first of all, absolute bed rest, correction of dehydration, broad spectrum antibiotic, when CS report available, then specific antibiotic, NSAID for pain, immobilization of the extremity by splint, plaster or by traction, and when there is a massive amount of pus formation, when there is a sequestrum, when there is a necrotic tissue, then we need to do surgery. Now, what are the complications of acute osteomyelitis? And after completing complications, our today's lecture will be finished. What are the complications of acute osteomyelitis? In case of children, there will be epiphyseal damage or physeal damage, and these may alter bone growth. There is a chance of suppurative arthritis or septic arthritis of the nearby joint, pathological fracture at the site of osteomyelitis, overlying soft tissue cellulitis, metastatic infection. This means from the bone, infection may goes to the other sides of the body or to the other bone of the body, and finally this may turn into chronic osteomyelitis if not treated properly, or if the antibiotics are not responsive to the infecting organism. So with this, today I finish my today's lecture, and in next class I will talk you about chronic osteomyelitis and septic arthritis. With this I conclude. Thank you. Thanks to you all.